Hi, this is Miss Sims going over the mid-year algebra exam, which was only achieved in a few merit questions. Okay, looking at the first question, simplify means that we can only combine like terms, like with like. In the first question, we've got an xy squared. We've got 2xy squared, and we can take away 3xy squareds because they're the same like terms. So 2 take away 3 is negative 1xy squared, and I still have to add the 5xy. Can't combine them because when you have an addition or a subtraction, we can only do that to like terms. The like terms in the next one would be the xy and the next xy. So this is like 1xy, take away 5xy, leaves me with negative 4xy, and I still have minus 3xy squared. Number 3, can you find the like terms? That's right, there's x squared, y squareds. There's 2, and I add another 5. That gives me 7x squared, y squared. And I still have to take away 3xy squared. Okay, so remember, simplifying, we're not finding any solution, we're just putting together the like terms. The next section B is expand. When we expand, we multiply whatever's in front of the brackets by everything that's in the brackets, and that way we can get rid of the brackets. In the first example, 5 has to multiply everything in the bracket. So 5 times 2x is going to be 10x. And then 5 times a positive 3 is positive 15. In the second example, remember, a negative, if we multiply by a negative, we change the sign of everything. A negative times a positive makes a negative. So this negative 3 times 3x is going to be negative 9x, and negative 3 times positive 4 is negative 12. The last example, expand, everything in the bracket gets multiplied by 5x. So timesing 5x times 2x is going to be 10x squared. Remember, I'm multiplying an x times another x is going to make x squared. Then 5x times a positive 3y is going to be positive 15, if we multiply our numbers first, and then I have an x times a y. And that's as much as you can do to expand those. So, the last part of this, we'll go to the next page. Oops. Part C here is factorising. So factorising is the opposite of expanding. We want to make a factor or a bracket here. So we look to see what's common in both parts of the expression. So I've got a 3x here and an xy over here. They both have x in them, so x can go out the front of the bracket, and then I'm going to put a bracket. So I've removed divided by x on this side, so I've taken that x out, and I have a 3 that's left. Minus, and I've taken this x out, divided by x, and so I've only got a y that's left in the bracket. In the second one, I can see that I can take an x out the front of a bracket. There's an x in both of those terms, but also both terms are divisible by 5, so I can take a 5 out the front of the bracket. What's left inside the bracket? I've divided this by 5x, but I have one more x that's left in the bracket. And my minus there, 5 goes into 24 times. I've removed that x, but I have a y that's left. And the last one here that we are factorising, I can see that I have an A and an A. I've got three A's multiplied together there, so one A can go out in front of the bracket. Also, 9 and 3, 3 goes into 9 and 3 goes into 3, so a 3 can come out the front. So 3A, 3 goes into negative 9, negative 3 times, and I still have A. I have two more A's left inside the brackets. I've removed, divided by 3A, 3A divided by 3A, I'm going to put a 1 in there, because if I check back afterwards, this 3A times negative 3A squared would be negative 9A to the power of 3, and then if I multiply 3A times 1, I've got my 3A again. So don't forget to put the plus 1 in. The next part is expanding when we have two brackets. This is a quadratic, so expanding with two brackets, we use FOIL, front, outer, inner, last, the way we multiply the terms. So the front terms, x squared, outer terms, that would be a minus 5x, inner, plus 5x, and last, positive 5 times negative 5 is negative 25. Now remember, you can cancel those two inner terms. If I give you 5x and I take 5x away, we're back to 0. And so my answer is just going to be x squared minus 25, which is a difference, it's called a difference of squares when we lose that middle value. It's good to recognise that. The second one, again, we FOIL it, so we're going to have x squared plus 3x minus 5x, and then negative 5 times a positive 3. A negative times a positive is a negative, and 15. So we always simplify as well. You've got adding 3x and taking away 5x. So I end up, if I started on 3 and took away 5, I'd have negative 2x minus 15. In this example, we use FOIL again for expanding. First of all, our front terms, 2x multiplied by 1x is 2x squared. 2x times a negative 3 is negative 6x. You must practice these until you get them right. Minus 5x. Negative 5 times negative 3 is a positive 15. So I have 2x squared. When I see a minus 6 and a minus 5, I think of that as a minus 11x. Negative 11x plus 15. The last example, they haven't written out both brackets, but because it's squared, that x minus 5 is multiplied by itself, another x minus 5. And we can expand that as you would normally with FOIL, x squared minus 5x minus another 5x, and then negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25 on the end. Simplifying, putting those like terms together, negative 5x and another negative 5x is going to be negative 10x plus 25. Okay, the next page we're asked to factorise. Factorising when we have an x squared, an x and a number on the end. That will always factorize into two brackets. Remember, we're looking for a number, the factors that multiply to make 12 and that add to make 7. Okay, they've got to multiply to make 12 and add to make 7. That's probably going to be 3 times 4. 3 times 4 is 12, but 3 plus 4 is 7. So my factors, or in the brackets, will be x plus 3 and x plus 4. This one here, I want my factors to make negative 12. So I could have 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4. One's going to be positive and one's going to be negative. But I want them to add together to make a 1x. So a difference of 1, that would be this pair here. If I add negative 3 plus 4, I get 1. So my bracket here will be x minus 3 is one factor, and x plus 4 is another factor. In this next example, our factors have to make 12. Again, it could be 2 times 6 or 3 times 4 or 1 times 12, but they must add together to make a negative 7. So the only way I can get that is by negative 3 times a negative 4. That still gives me a positive 12. A negative times a negative is a positive, but they'll add together to make negative 7. So that means my brackets must be x minus 3, the factor x minus 3, and the factor x minus 4. In the next part, we've got to do some substitution, which means replacing the a, b, and c with the numbers that were given there. So we've got 2 times 3 plus 4 is the b, minus 3 times negative 5. So that would be 6 plus 4. A negative 3 times a negative 5 is a positive 15, which is going to give us 25 as the answer. Up the page. A is 3 squared plus b is 4 squared equals 9 plus 16, which also equals 25. And further up the page, a plus b is 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 squared is 49. That's all on that page. Yep. Next page. Oops, I've lost the... In this simplifying, I've filled in the numbers already, but 4 plus negative 5 squared is the same as 4 plus 25, which is 29. On the next problem, negative 3, in my brackets I have 3 minus a negative 5 squared, which is positive 25. 3 minus 25 is negative 22, times negative 3 will be a positive 66. So remember, negative times a negative is a positive. And the last problem, negative 5, bracket 3 minus 4 would be negative 1. Negative 5 times negative 1 is 5. And on the bottom of our fraction, we have 12. Going up, simplifying here. When we're simplifying, remember the rules of indices or powers. So we multiply our numbers first, so I have 14. When we are multiplying or dividing, we can combine everything together. It's not like when we're adding and subtracting and we need like terms. When we're multiplying, we can just add the powers. So I've got x to the power of 2 and an x to the power of 3, so I can add the powers, I have x to the power of 5. I have y to the power of 1, and a y to the power of 2 would give me y to the power of 3. So again, multiply your numbers first and then add your powers of the same terms. So the next one, a power of a power. So if we have a power of a power, we multiply the powers, but the number must also be multiplied by itself to the power. So I've got a 3, which is also squared. So I'm going to have a 9 at the beginning. Then x, again, power of a power, we multiply. 3 times 2 is 6. On this example, when we divide powers, indices, we subtract the indices. So we simplify the fraction first. Both 4 and 8 divide by 4, so that's 1 over 2. I have x to the power of 5, so 5x is on the top and 3x is on the bottom, so I can cancel those 3x's or subtract them. So 5 minus 3 leaves me with 2, and that's on the top of the fraction. And the last one here, remember that 3 is also to the power of 2, so that's going to be a 9 on the top. I have x to the power of 6, which is going to be x to the power of 12. But also on the bottom, my x to the power of 3 is also squared, which is x to the power of 6. Now I can simplify that. I have 9x. Now we subtract the powers, so it'll leave me with 6 on the top. We don't need to have anything on the bottom of the fraction. And the next one, we're looking at solving. So the easiest way to think about this is if you do kind of what we call the river. I want x by itself. To solve, I need to find a value for x. So I'm going to add 5 to get rid of that 5, add 5 on that side. That leaves me with 3x, and I have negative 6 on that side. I want to get rid of the 3, divide by 3 on both sides, cancel those 3's. So x equals negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. In this example here, it's easier to expand the bracket first. So 3x plus 21, remember 3 multiplies everything in the bracket, equals 23. And then solve it from there. I want to get rid of 21 minus 21 on both sides. I'll then have 3x equals 2. Get rid of the 3, it's 3 times x, so I have to divide by 3 on both sides. X equals 2/3. The next example, remember when you have x on both sides, look at which side you have the most x's on. So I'm going to keep the 5x, and I want to get rid of the 3x on that side. So I'll minus 3x on that side as well. So I only have 7 over here. 5x minus 3x is 2x minus 3. This right-hand side has the x's, so I'll get rid of the 3 plus 3 on both sides. So that will leave me with 10 equals 2x. So x must equal 5. 2 times 5 is 10. And the next problem, I'm going to get rid of my 7 first, because I want the x on that side. So x over 4 is 12 minus 7. So I'm going to get squashed out here. X over 4 equals 12 minus 7 is 5. And I want to get rid of the divided by 4. So I'm going to times by 4 on the left and times by 4 on the right. will cancel, so x equals 20. This example here, I'm going to get rid of my brackets first by expanding. So 5x plus 7 5 is 35 equals 4x minus 8. 5x has the most on that side, so I'll get rid of my 4x minus 4x on both sides. Leaves me with 1x equals negative 8, and I also want to get rid of plus 35, so I'll minus 35 on both sides. Minus 35 would cancel that. So 1x, x equals a negative 8 and a negative 35 is a negative 43. Hope that's right. And this may be the last one on this page. No, another two. Okay, next one. We've got a fraction here. So I'm going to put my fractions on the same side. I think I'll have a negative 5 equals x plus 1 over 3 minus x plus 3 over 2. Now remember with your fractions here, to make it one fraction, we can multiply the bottoms together. 2 times 3, we multiply that to make 6 on the bottom, and then we're going to cross multiply the top. So that's 2 times x plus 2, and then this 3 is going to cross over here, so we have a minus 3x and a minus 9. It will end up being negative, or minus 9, because it's negative 3 times 3. So that's going to be negative 5 equals 2x minus 3x is negative x minus 7 over 6. And to get rid of the 6, times this side by 6 and times that side by 6. So negative 30 equals, it's getting confusing, isn't it? That 6 cancels. I hope. I'm trying to think what I'm doing here. Equals negative x minus 7. Minus 7. Make this plus 7 to get rid of that. And plus 7. So negative 23 equals negative x, so x equals 23. This last one here, sorry, a bit squashed up, maybe do a different colour. I want to get rid of the 2, so I'll divide by 2 on both sides. So x squared equals 36. What number squared equals 36? X must equal 6. 6 is 36. But don't forget, a negative 6 times a negative 6 is also 36. So you have both those possibilities. Okay, and I think that's the end. Oh, still got more. Okay, x to the power of 3. You just have to know these. That's 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 is 27. So x must equal 3. 5 to what power makes 25? 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5 equals 125. So x must equal 3. Again. Make x the subject. So this is rearranging. I want to end up with x equals. So with this one, we're just going to do the river again. 5x equals y minus 3. We'll take off 3 on both sides. We need to divide by 5 to cancel that 5 over 5. So x equals y minus 3 over 5. Going along further down the page. Just quickly, I need to get rid of the 4, so I'm going to times each side by 4, times by 4 here. Usually when we have a fraction, it's good to think of it as in brackets. So times by 4 will cancel my 4's. So I'm left with 5x squared plus 3 equals 4y. I now want to get rid of the plus 3, so I can minus 3 on both sides, and that will cancel that. So I have 5x squared equals 4y minus 3. I want to divide by 5 to get rid of the 5's. So divide by 5. I then have x squared equals 4y minus 3 over 5. To get rid of a squared, we square root. So square root this side, we'll get rid of that. And I must square root that side, which is my answer. This little one here, I times by 4 to get rid of the 4. I must also times by 4 on the side, so I have 4y. I want to get rid of a square root, so the opposite of square rooting is to square, get rid of that, so I need to square this side. So my answer, x, will equal 4y in brackets all squared. Simplifying this fraction, again, we should know how to do fractions. We multiply the bottom to make a common denominator, 2 5s are 10, and then we cross multiply. 5x gets multiplied by 5, so 25x minus this x gets times by 2. And we can simplify that to 23x over 10. Oops, move the page up anymore? No. Last page. We're going to, these are quite long, make a common denominator, and then we multiply, cross multiply this side. Oops. X plus 2 gets multiplied by 3, plus 5 times x minus 3 equals 3x plus 6 plus 5x minus, this is 15, all over 15. And we can simplify that. We've got a 3x on top and a 5x, so I have 8x, and I've got 6 minus 15 is minus 9, all over 15. We do the same thing in this example. It's a bit more tricky because it's got a minus. Same principle though, multiply the bottom, so we're going to have 10 on the bottom. We cross multiply. Now keep this in brackets. We're going to multiply 2 times what's on top of that fraction, 2x plus 2. And then I'm going to multiply by a minus 5. There's a minus in there. A minus 5 times x minus 3. So if I expand these brackets, I'm going to get 4x plus 4 minus, now remember it's a negative 5 times x and a negative 5 times a negative 3. So it'll be minus 5x plus 15 all over 10, which equals, I've got 4x and a minus 5x is minus 1x, and a 4 plus 15 is 19 over 10. And here ends the video. Thank you.